we're supposed to remind me. I am recording this because 3 people couldn't come and specifically asked me to do that. Hopefully I'll figure out how to make it public enough for people to watch it. Anyhow, each meeting has a business and an educational component, and usually in normal times, we go on a trip right from there, and then we go to lunch and we talk about what we did. And that allows you time right away to practice whatever we learned in that session. After that, after the photographs are done, and this one will be a little bit different because you'll be actually editing archived photographs. After you have the photographs that suit the topic and you're ready to share, you send 2 images. In this case, it will be 2 sets of images. I'll explain that in a little while. You send 2 images to me, and my email address is on that agenda by a certain date, also on the agenda. And I will compile that into some format we can use to review on a certain date, and that date is on the agenda. So, meeting date with an educational portion and a business portion, a shoot, hopefully, or an ability for you to go back to your archives, followed by a review session. And that's the basic structure of how the club works. In addition, each year we have at least 1 educational program by an outside speaker. This year we're going to have 2. And if you've been reading the correspondence that I've been sending out, that's not a surprise to you. The first educational program is going to be in December. And again, the dates are on the handout. It's going to be Irene Hill, who's an educator at the Old School Square photography program. And she's spoken for us before. She's a wonderful speaker, and she's one of the judges at our annual photography show. So that should be an excellent session, and it's going to be the same format. We probably won't do a business meeting unless we do that before she even joins us. We'll see how that works out. She's going to be talking to us about abstract photography, and the same thing's going to happen after the session. You're going to be able to send her images, and then we're going to have a review session where she talks about your images to the group. The way we do the review session for our group internally are the images are anonymous. I don't know how she's going to do that. So, that we'll work that out with her. The second outside speaker that we have is going to be in March, and he's going to be from Ira and Barbara Beta are working as our outside educational coordinators. And they've been in touch with a group called Hunt's Camera, which is a place you can buy things. But they also have a lot of educational programs, and they sent him to a guy who does education, and he's going to talk to us about doing photography with the camera that you always have, which is your smartphone. That should be really interesting. And the same thing's going to happen. You'll be able to send him images, and he'll be reviewing them. So we're going to do a lot of different kinds of things this year. We are also going to have our photography show. Every year, for those of you that are new, people send in images to in a certain format, and that we have judges from the outside come, and the photography show is set up in the clubhouse in the art studio. Obviously, we can't do that this year. So what we're going to be doing is a virtual photography show. And Anne is going to be able to speak to you about that at the November meeting so that you'll get an idea of how to submit your information. I encourage you to go to the Valencia Falls website, to the Photography Study Group's webpage, and look at the rules that we've set up. We made them as clear as we possibly could amongst ourselves. So go back and look at them and see if you have any questions. It would help us a lot if upon reading those rules, something was unclear to you, because if it was unclear to you, it's probably unclear to somebody else as well. And we would encourage you to please contact myself or Anne or Ira, one of the guys that are organize the photography show. Say, I don't understand this. Could you clarify? And we'll revise the rules based on if enough people don't understand something that we've written there. So basically that's how we run. That's what we're doing this season. We're also doing the Armchair Travel Group, which everybody should absolutely be familiar with at this point. Members from this photography club or photo study group submit images to a certain topic. I create a slideshow, and then I send that out to the community, to the people that are interested. It's also living on that web page. So all of the ones we've done, and we've done 5 so far, I believe we're on our 6th one now. They're all there forever until we take them down. So you can go back and look at all of them and see what's going on and what we've been doing. If you're interested and you've never submitted before, you do need to be a paid member to submit. Like if you want to see like, what does it look like? Are my pictures good enough? Are they the kind of pictures we're looking for? We'll take anything. So don't even fuss about that. If for some reason it doesn't fit the topic, then I'll just contact you and say, this doesn't really fit the topic. Or if it's cropped really poorly or something, I might do that. But most of the time, I don't have the time for that. I just put them all up. It's basically you sharing with other people, with me as a middleman to get it into a PowerPoint. Okay, so basically that's how the club runs and some of the things that this club does. We're pretty active, and we run from October, usually into April, sometimes into May, depending on the season. You can see here, I've run out the dates through January 1st. I ran out of room. So next meeting, there'll be more and more, and I'll just keep putting them on as we get lower and lower in that area. Okay, so just for some new business, I'd like Susan Van Ness is our treasurer to tell us how much money, to unmute yourself and tell us how much money we have in our bank account.
Unmute.
Good.
As of today, we have $1,953.35. Our balance has gone up over the past 3 months. In August, September, and October, we collected $780 in dues.
Oh, great. Excellent. Okay, so just for those of you that either do not remember or do not know, this club never had dues before last season. We passed a hat, basically, and people would put in a little bit of money, and that's how we bought things that we needed for the photography show, which is our biggest expense, and that's how we paid for speakers when we had them. And we usually only had one, and we charged admission, so there was sort of like this little balancing act. A lot of the clubs in Valencia Falls decided not to collect dues this year. However, since last year was our first year collecting dues, and I seeded the account with my own $500, we decided to collect dues at least this year. You know, I don't know what we'll do for 2022. We'll see what happens. Because then I can take my $500 back and we'll have a more accurate reflection of what we have. And we will have the 2 speakers to pay for, but we won't have any expenses for the photography show. So we should be really good. Susan will tell me if I can take my 500 or not, and we should be good there. And that's why, otherwise, if we didn't have any expenses, obviously, we wouldn't have charged any dues. Okay, thanks, Susan. Membership.
Welcome.
Nancy, oh, you have Nancy?
Thank you. Right now we have 39 members. Last year we had between 41 and 43, and I'm saying that because 2 of our members joined late in the year, so I didn't have them on my books. But we did lose some members. Unfortunately, I think we lost 1 or 2 to deaths, which is terrible, and a few that decided not to rejoin this year.
I know that one of the people that decided not to join is because she has difficulty. She's has a hearing issue and she has difficulty with the Zoom thing, which I think is sort of interesting. Not because she's not interested in photography, but that's
well. I mean, yeah, I meant a lot of people. I know other people that aren't doing things because of Zoom also. So it's not surprising. I think the fact that we're pretty stable is great.
Yeah, me too. Definitely think it's great. Okay, the photography show, I told you a little bit about that. It's going to be virtual. And again, it's going to be something that's free to members. Now, again, in the past, we made our photography show open to anybody in the community that wanted to be in it because we really needed to drum up interest. The show had been very big and then it got small. And it was sort of hovering around small and we wanted to really grow it. So we really promoted it. And we actually pulled in some new members with that, which was great. So this we've decided this time, since there's a lot of work involved, that if for all members, entering is free, and for non-members, meaning anybody in the community who wanted to put some photographs in, the entry fee, meaning for all the pictures, it's $10. And most of the shows that any of us send into, you do have to pay an entry fee. So we're comfortable with that. The last thing I just wanted to bring up, just as a point of information, is the cafe exhibit, which I did not mention before for the new members. For those of you who are new to the community, I don't know if you've even been in the cafe, but the cafe has photographs on the walls, and that's us. Since the cafe opened after it was redone many years ago, the photography study group has been responsible for decorating the walls. The frames belong to the HOA, and 3 times a year, we rotate a topic into the cafe for the 20 by 30 images that are hanging on the walls. We use the frames that are there, and they are taken down and rehung by the HOA, meaning they hire somebody to do that, because one time it fell on somebody. So anyhow, so we have topics picked for months, like for years, actually. We we vote on topics, and we have picked topics, I think, for 3 years out. And the images are submitted and judged by a panel that is a rotating group of people, and they judge the pictures not for their necessarily total photographic merit, the way you would if you were entering a photo contest. These are judged for how they're going to look there. So they have to be good pictures, but they might have some issues with composition or something minor that, as a photographer, you'd go, why did they pick that? And they might have picked it because it fits into the topic better than some other ones. We try to limit, there's 8 frames. We try to limit 1 per photographer. We don't want 1 photographer to have 3 images in there. We want to have as many people participate as humanly possible. So if 1 photographer, when they score them, we could have like 2 or 3 photographers who all score really, really high. But we pick 1 of those images from that photographer, then we drop down and drop down and drop down, as long as they don't go below a certain score. So anyhow, we haven't rotated them since the beginning of COVID, because the cafe was closed. And that exhibit had just been put up like a couple of weeks before that. So the board will be discussing what to do. The cafe is open now for limited service, but I don't think many people are going there. So I don't know if we will decide to change them at some point in the near future, or just wait till this whole mess is over and the whole clubhouse is open. My guess is we're going to wait till the whole clubhouse is open. But just so you know that is our responsibility, and that it is on hold. And it's not like somebody's complaining to us. It's just we are the ones who will decide when we want to rotate again. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to allow, if anybody has any questions about the way we're going to work this, is we're going to do segments. So that was the business meeting. If anybody has a question about anything that went on in the business meeting, this is the time to unmute yourself and ask. Anybody?
I do. I have a question, Adrian.
Yes, Viv.
The pictures that are hung now in the cafe, are they on the website? Can they be shown on the website, so at least those of us who don't go to the cafe can see it at least?
Yes,
There, Eileen, you want to answer that question?
On our club website, you can go to the galleries menu, and the most recent is at the top, and the exhibit is birds.
So you'll see that. All right, I didn't see that. Okay, thank you.
Do me a favor, Eileen, could you just say the website address for everybody? Because that's, I didn't put that in this agenda.
It's
Adrian,
the address of, sorry, Eva, I'm just answering. The address is VFPSG. That stands for Valencia Falls Photography Study Group .club.
And that's always listed in the article that I do for The View. So you'll,
However, it will be leaving in a short
Yep.
time. We're not renewing that.
okay. And one thing I realized I forgot when I heard Eva pipe up, because she's probably piping up to remind me that Hadassah has been advertising in emails to the community, as well as I emailed to this group, that Eva and I are putting together a slideshow about Israel. And if anybody does not know about that already, the deadline is tomorrow. Sticking to that deadline. So if you have any questions about that, or you want more information and you think you want to put something together for me, please contact me after the meeting.
I have another question.
Okay.
Adrian, on the virtual photography show, will we be submitting 4 images like in the past, and will it be judged? And will we get ribbons?
Yeah, all of that, yes. So you'll be able to submit the same number. For those of you who never did this before, it's 4 images. Again, you'll look at the rules, but 4 images in a general category, and you can have an additional 2 images in a creative category. So that would be, you know, something where you combined images, or you did something in editing software that made it unreal looking. Yes, we will have judges. The judges will be judging virtually. And yes, we will be scoring. And yes, we will be awarding real life ribbons. So then if you want to print your image out at home and mount it, you can hang your ribbon on it just as if we had the real photography show. Great question, Eva. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be also circulating that information to the community. We'll let them know who wins, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, any other questions? Right? That was okay. So far, so good. Now we get to the big part with the screen sharing. Okay, so now I'm going to turn the meeting over to and this is how it would be going if we were in the cafe. Normally we meet in the clubhouse. We had used to eat over breakfast. The last couple of times we met in the art studio, and that worked a little bit better. We were able to hear each other better. Anyhow, so Barbara is going to be the first speaker. And the way this is going to work is I have the PowerPoint on my screen, and I'm going to share it, and Barbara will be the speaker. Remember to stay on mute.
I think Anne had a question, Adrian.
Sorry. Anne?
Hang on. How about now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I almost forgot what I wanted to say. I think it's important for people to know on the online, the virtual show. It makes a difference as you're starting to think about the pictures that you want to enter down the road. We always used to have the pictures submitted when they were printed in an 11:14 format. And the good thing about this is when you eventually get the sizing requirements, because it's online, you're not frozen to that 11:14 format, which makes a difference to a lot of us looking at cropping things. Yeah, all of us with DSLRs are going like this. Smartphone people will be fine, we'll be fine. But so it does open up the picture a little bit for all of us. Okay.
Okay, and get more information about that on the next meeting, by the way, is November the 16th. And Anne and Eileen are going to be doing the program, and it's about creatures up close. Okay, here we go. All right. Slideshow. Can everybody see that full screen?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So now, since I'm running it, Barbara and David and Harry are just going to have to say slide or next or whatever.
Okay. Well, David and Harry and I decided to do a core group that's not about taking the most perfect picture and teaching you how to make it better in Photoshop. We're trying to show you how to make pictures more fun, to take an old picture and change it, how to take a new picture and do it in many ways. We've used Photoshop Elements, Nick Collection, Topaz, and Snapseed, which Harry will talk about. So we'll kind of go through. We're not going to describe like all the details of how to do it. I just want you to see what you can do on Photoshop Elements. And most of what we're doing, you're going to find under, oh gosh, senior moment. Filters. So all of the most fun stuff is under filters. There's a lot of great stuff you can do in tools, but we're not going to talk too much about tools today. We're going to talk about filters. And Nick Collection is a plug-in filter, which you can add. And also, so is Topaz. It's a separate plug-in that you can add to your computer. And it gives you like a wealth of information that you can use in creating wonderful pictures. Okay, we can move.
Do you want to start the video?
Sure.
Photo effects and filters offer a quick and easy way to show off your creativity, whether you want to punch up your photos' colors or add a cool artistic style. Photoshop Elements has a huge variety of effects to choose from, and it has different options for applying them. Quick Edit mode offers one-click effects for trying on different looks. Add a tint, turn your photo into a pencil sketch, get a vintage feel, and more. When you really want a custom effect for your photo, Smart Looks does all the work for you. It analyzes the subject, color, and lighting of your photo and suggests 5 effects that fit perfectly. And when you're ready for more control, the Photoshop Elements Filter Gallery in Expert mode is the place to go. We've simplified the gallery so it's easier to explore all your options, including filters like cutout, colored pencil, and neon glow. Then just click to choose the one that fits the best. With Photoshop Elements effects, you have hundreds of ways to show your style.
Barbara, I just want to interject something before you go on. I know there's a lot of people in the audience here that in the club that shoot with smartphones. And I want to tell you that you have lots of options for using the things you're going to be seeing in these screens. One option is moving your photo from your phone to a computer and working on it, or to an iPad and working on it, because these programs are available for the iPad and this phone. It's just, I don't know how you do that on a tiny little phone, but just so you know, don't close off your mind and say, I'm not going to do that. It's not pertaining to me. It is pertaining to you. You can still do all of these things, even if the camera that you use is a smartphone camera.
Okay, so the way this is going to run is the original image will show first, and then I'll show variations of that original image and give you a little bit of information on how I did this. This was taken in Marseille. I never looked at this picture. I really just took it for fun because I thought it was funny that these two cars were parked together. But basically you see a street and a wall, and it was just, you know, because I thought it was cute that these cars were so ridiculously parked. Okay, next. So then we had a class through Irene Hill that we had to do things in twos. Well, suddenly I was going through my picture and I found this picture again, and I thought, oh, well, there's two things, two cars, that's great. So how can I make it better? So I took out the background and put a bright color in there. And as you can see, putting the bright color in there, I also saturated a little bit, but the reflections came up stronger that were in the car windows and in the car, which you never really noticed in the first picture.
I'm just going to go back one so they can see what you're talking about. Okay, so
they were there, but you don't really, it didn't pop as much as when it had the blue background. So then I went on and tried a different effect. And this one is polarized, and that's found under Photoshop for filters.
Okay, somebody themselves unmuted. Audrey, you need to mute yourself. I did it. Forget it. You're okay. All right, I'm sorry.
Okay, so this is a polarized image. And with polarization, you can do it two ways. You can do polarized edges, which just kind of makes a little firm line around the image, or you can polarize it, which just changes the image a lot by the way the shading is and sometimes has a cartoonish effect. Okay. Okay, so this is a chalk and charcoal image. And this was also done in Photoshop. This was changed into a black and white image through the Nick collection, the Silver Vivenza. And then this last image, same image, I put it into solarization, which is under color effects in Nick collection. It kind of gives it a very metallic look. The solarization is fun. I use solarization a lot because there are so many different ways you can play with it. So if you get Nick collection as a plugin, it's something really fun to play with because it can create multiple things. When you go in each category, you have sliders that you can change all around for the lighting and the timing of how long it would be, quote, in the sun. Okay, this next is an original image, untouched. By the way, I usually shoot in RAW, which I put my images today shown in a JPEG, so it's easier. Shooting in RAW is another way. If you have an SLR camera, you can take, which it usually is like a double image. You take a RAW image and then you take your JPEG image. So this is a JPEG image. This is a salt and pepper shaker. So you see all the flaws. I took it on black lucite. There's dust on the lucite. There's marks on the salt and pepper shaker. So this is it as I saw it out of the camera. And then I changed it. So this, I went into threshold, which is one of the first filters that you're offered. Oh, I'm sorry, Nick collection. Thanks, Irene. Eileen. So this is a solarized image in Nick. This is also a solarized image, so you can see how many different ways you can change things. I believe this was a combination of pencil drawing and sketch. This is a polarized image. Okay. So the next image, this is the original shot. I took a calla lily, I laid it on lucite, untouched. You can see the dust on the lucite. You see your reflection. The colors are a little dull. And then I moved it into some different effects. This is a colored pencil effect. This is a pen and ink effect. This image I posterized. This image I solarized. And this is another solarization. So in the solarize part of the Nick collection color effects, you have usually 5 color effects you can go into and 3 black and white. So you can work in black and white or you can work in color. Okay. Okay, so this is a very uninteresting office building. It's actually part of the Guitar Hotel. So this was my original image, which I just totally ignored when I first got home and went through my images. But then we had an architectural assignment for class at Old School Square. So you'll see what I did by cropping it and changing some things. We can proceed to the next slide. So this is cropped. I changed the color of the background. The windows actually are the same reflection. Changed the color of the background again, changed the window color. Changed the whole color of the building, put a border around it, changed the inside color of the building and the background. And again, I've forgotten now what this was, might have been under pencil sketch, but again, change the color of the background and change the effects. So you can see how one image that was kind of a really uninteresting image became a lot more fun and became more geometric and more abstract just by playing with it. There's another one. And then I took one of the images and I actually did a canvas around it and a stroke around it, which is something really fun to do when you're trying to give a more finished looking image. Let's say you want to hang it in your house or give it as a gift, that it kind of completes the image. Okay, so this assignment was shadows. So I took these two vases I had and I stuck them outside on our lanai, and I got this really ugly image. You know, it did have shadows, but I didn't like it. So I worked with it and I solarized it. And then I did a different solarization on it. Then I turned it into black and white and solarized it. Okay. Again, an original image. It's okay. You know, it's a little unclear, fuzzy. So I looked at how to make this image better or more fun. In this, I did the polar coordinates, which you'll find under your filters. It's very fun to play with. This one was done with the colored pencil effect. This one was done with a filter called Waves, which I took to the extreme to make it hugely abstract. This is a solarized image in the blue and white. And then this is solarized in the black and white series. And then that's the neon effect. So you can see how much fun and how things can change so much from the original image. Now this image, we were assigned to take night photos. Well, it was during COVID and I wasn't going to go out at night and take pictures. And I rarely take night images because usually if we're traveling, I don't want to lug my SLR out at night. So I usually will take my cell phone. So this image I decided to try as an experiment to see if I could turn it to night. So I did. So what I did is I worked on the image itself and, you know, saturated what I want to saturate and fine-tuned and clarified what I wanted to clarify. And then I put it into the solarization and just played with the levels till it looked like nighttime. And then I went back into Photoshop and I highlighted areas to make it look like shadows, to make it look like the lantern was lit, to make it look like some of the windows were lit. So I entered it as a night photo and nobody knew it wasn't a night photo. So, you know, there's so many fun things that you can do through your computer that have fun.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Barbara? Just unmute yourself and ask.
Hi, Barbara. Good morning. What program do you use to change your background completely?
The background, usually I just do the quick image that's under tools to do the outline. And then I pick the color and I paint the color in.
But it's,
Thank you.
Pardon? It's in Photoshop Elements.
Right.
In Photoshop Elements. They have, I have 18, which now I know that there are better programs in the later sets to do that. Sometimes I have to go back a lot and re-outline and then paint the color in. You choose the color, you have scales to choose it. If you play with it, you'll kind of find it, or you could look for a video about it telling you how to do it.
In Photoshop Elements 2020, there's a quick thing that just says replace background. and you just kind of outline the picture and you just change whatever color you want. So it's really easy.
Yeah, I need to get that.
Um,
Oh, I like that. I like that suggestion.
Barbara, hi.
Hi.
I'm new to this group, so I enjoyed your presentation now. It was a lot of fun to watch. And I'm just interested in the apps that you mentioned. Are these apps free or do you have to pay for them? Photoshop or Snapseed, are they? I downloaded Snapseed. I don't even know if there's a course.
Okay, Photoshop Elements you have to pay for.
Okay. Is it a
You
yearly
can-
cost?
I bought it.
Oh,
And so I bought it outright. So then you can pay for updates on it, or you can buy a whole new program. There is now a 2021, I think, that just came out. And there's also Nick Collection, which is a plugin. And under Nick Collection, I use Color Effects and I use Silver Vivenza. There are other features in that, but Nick Collection you also have to pay for. But it's a plugin you can connect to your, I couldn't, but my computer tech put it into my Photoshop Elements for me. And then I also use Topaz Images, which is a separate program, and you have to pay for that as well. None of them are that expensive. They're all, around $79 to $99. So, it's just depending on how much you want to do, you decide what you would like to use.
So as a beginner, which app do you think is?
I would start with Photoshop Elements
Mhm.
and get used to that, and then decide if there's things that you want to do more, that you add some other features.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Can I comment on that?
Yes.
You have to warn her and everybody that Topaz specifically requires computers that many of us may not have. It uses your graphic processor unit in such a way that if you're using it on anything that's older than a couple of years, it may or may not work, or it may take forever to work, or it may crash. The NIC equipment, on the other hand, tends to work with anything. And if you have an older computer with NIC, you might be able to find on the net the original free NIC programs that were put out by Google. They are available if you can look for them and find and see if they are compatible with the computer you are using. Topaz is a problem.
Can I add something?
Can I add something too?
Okay, can I just say one thing as for etiquette purposes, when you're done speaking, can you mute yourself so we don't have a lot of extraneous noise? So Sam, you wanted to say something, or?
Yes, Nick Collection, if you do a scan via Google, trying to look for free Nick Collection, some older versions going back 3 or 4 years now. This is during the time that Google owned it and basically posted it for everybody. Still available. Actually, I have a link either for Mac or for Windows. It's large file. It's for computer, of course. I don't think it's for telephone. Don't try. 500 megabyte or even close to gigabyte in size, depending. And it is very, very useful. But please remember, it's older. So if you want the latest, it's $99.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Miriam, you had something to say?
Yeah, regarding the question about replacing a background, whether you use Photoshop Elements or the standard Photoshop, if you select out the area that you want to replace, there is something called a solid adjustment layer that you can put in, but you pick your color that you want beforehand, and there's a color picker at the bottom of the tools list where you can choose your color. And when you open that up, let's say you pick red, there's different levels of red. There can be less saturation, more saturation, brighter, darker. You go with your mouse within that color and pick the saturation and lightness, brightness of it. And when you use that solid color adjustment layer, then it will put it it'll be on top of your original image, and then you can use one of the like overlay blend modes, or one of the other things that are in the layers adjustment panel to make it work. But that's another way of doing it. And he is right about the Nick's out with their, I'm not Nick, Topaz. I mean, Topaz is out with that AI version. I have Topaz from way back, like years ago, so my filters work. But again, you have to have a computer with significant, power in it. I do have another question unrelated to this. Has anybody who's using regular Photoshop lately, and if they happen to go work in Lightroom with their raw images and then want to open up their file in Photoshop, find you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs for 2 or 3 minutes before the image actually gets onto the Photoshop screen, because it's really upsetting. I have to go start reading 2 or 3 emails before I can actually start editing in Photoshop. Has anybody experienced this?
How old is your computer?
My computer is about 3 or 4 years old. It's got a solid state drive. It's got 4 gigabytes of RAM. My data goes on a D drive, which is a SATA drive. I got the most, I forget how much, I have the maximum amount of RAM on it.
Can I ask you two, Carl and Miriam, to talk to each other later, because this conversation will be over everybody's head.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Adrian, would you give Miriam my phone number, please?
I'll make a note.
Thank you.
Okay. You're in the book, right?
No,
Yes, I am. Last name is Geisler, Geisler.
I'll get it for you, Miriam. I have it, and I have his email.
Thank you, Adrian.
Okay. All right. The one thing that I would just say is most of what that conversation was about, for those of you that do not know, is using Photoshop Elements. And Photoshop Elements is a fairly intuitive program that has become more intuitive over the years. And they have different modes, and they have a mode that's called guided edits, where it says, okay, here's your picture. What do you want to do? You say what you want to do. It says, okay, do this, waits for you to do it. Next screen, now do this, and then do this, and then do this to get to the result that you're talking about. So it's a great way to learn, but it also has expert mode. So it has a basic mode, a guided mode, an expert mode. The thing you have to know about Photoshop Elements is you must know whether it will fit in your computer, because every time they improve it, it becomes more difficult to put it into older computers. So I cannot get a new version. And many of you will not be able to get a new version until you upgrade your devices. So just know that in your head. And it is available, like I said before, for iPad and for phone, but I believe, and also for Android, I believe, but double check on that. Okay, our next person is David.
Hi guys. I just want to say I started using Photoshop Elements last year. And Irene Hill and Barbara both said to me, don't freak out, because I'm the least IT person there is, but just play. And I guess one of the only good things that came out of the pandemic was I had time to play. So, you just sit there and you click on every filter, but within the filters, there are dials and slides to change things. And it's amazing how different things can be even within one filter. And I still find that every time I go back, I find a different effect. And if we have time, I think Barbara will show you later, sometimes you can do a filter and then do another filter on top of it. And you get these amazing things that you never even thought were possible. I did something recently where our assignment from Irene was to do something with books. And I just had these boring pages from a book that were kind of folded over. And I solarized it, then put neon on it, and then put a sepia tone. And suddenly the pages looked metallic gold. And it was just wonderful. And I don't do all the other Nick and Topaz things, But as Adrian said, this is very intuitive. And if you just sit and play with it, it's amazing how quickly you learn it and amazing how quickly you do.
And before David starts, I'll just tell you one thing. When you do it, when you start playing, don't be frightened. First, copy of your image, put the other original away, and just play around on a copy. You can always undo. But if you're working on a copy and you know you don't care if you ruin it, which you can't, but let's say you're really terrified and you can't ruin it, just you'll feel free and you'll go, oh my goodness, let me do this and this and this and this and this and this, just like that. Click, 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 and magic happens. Okay.
And what I do sometimes is I'll save a bunch of different looks and then go through them again, and then, you know, just delete the ones I don't like and play with the ones that I do like. So it really is, I was scared of it at first. It's really, really, once you get into it, it's really fun. And I like abstracts, so that helped too. So next. So we had an assignment from Irene to do minimalism, and I thought, okay, well, I'll go hold up a flower against the sky. Well, it's a pretty shitty shot. And I kind of overlooked it and did other things. And then I went back to just see what I could do to play with this. Next. So this was just kind of straightening the flower, brightening the picture. And then I went into the filters.
Oh, what happened?
I don't know.
Oh my God.
Looks a lot better.
Doesn't it?
I don't know what, oh, hold on for a second. Something happened. Oh, you know what? It's the PowerPoint. Sometimes they go too bad. Like right there, see? Okay. Don't send. Hold on, I gotta make you guys, I have to move you guys over so I can get back to the PowerPoint. Okay, it's right there. Okay. Notice how calm I am.
You'll find it.
It is. And we have to go back to the slideshow. And let's find the slide we were on. Oh my goodness, look at this. They're all gone. All right.
So
They came back. Some are coming back. Maybe it's just gonna take a minute.
Loading, Adrian.
Hold on for a second. I actually have this as a PDF, so do not panic. Let's just see what happens. I just, here we go.
There.
Oh,
There
There they are.
Adrian, they're all there. The computer's simply slow a bit.
okay. Slide and hold on. Slideshow. From the current slide. Oh, there you go.
So this was just cropping it and taking out the sky in the background and just making it, to my mind, a little more graphic. Next. And this was just inverting it. And really what it does, it's almost kind of like a color X-ray of the photo. So it flips the image. And just thought the colors were cool and the background were cool. But it kept playing.
But wait, did it make the image black? It made, when you did that, it created the black background?
It just created the black background. So it goes, if the background is white, it automatically goes to black. Sometimes when you have color, you're not sure what color it will invert to. So the orange inverted to blue. It pretty much changes on each image. So it's worth trying, but anything that's black will become white and white will become black. And this was taking the image and solarizing it. And solarizing it also changes the background too. Solarize does a bit of the inversion, but it also adds colors to the shadows and everything. So it's kind of a cool effect. And I think, as Barbara said, this is maybe more of an extreme one. You could do subtle ones too, and just see subtle differences of color. So it's really, again, fun to play with. This one was, it's called Glowing Lines. And basically, again, it changes the background to black, but it just outlines every outline in the picture in colors. And you could make the colors brighter or bigger or wider. This was just a simple one. This next one is really interesting because it's called bas relief. And it just makes the color of the picture kind of monotone, but it looks like it's raised, and you could add as much texture or grain to it as you want. It's just, I don't know that I've ever really used this, but it's just fun to play with it and look at it. And then where I ended up for my assignment was just turning it purely to black and white. And so just quickly on Photoshop Elements, at least the newer versions, there are two ways to do that. You could just do it under Enhance. There's a thing that just says Convert to Black and White, and there are different choices of different types of black and white you can do. Or there's a guided session that allows you to really play with the contrast and whatever. Anyway, that image was submitted to Irene's online black and white show. So the next image was really, it was early in the pandemic, and it was really one of those days where I was just got to get out of the house. And it was kind of a cloudy day, and I just literally walked around the house and my neighbors' houses and taking pictures. And I just thought it was kind of a cool angle of the cactus, but not really a good picture. Next. So I cleaned it up a bit, lightened it, but it still wasn't really appealing to me. And so the next one, I just got rid of the second part of the cactus and just focused on this. And I kind of loved the texture and the colors of it. And the next, again, I inverted it. And it changed the background to black, but in this case, it made the cactus all sorts of pink and everything, and just like a totally different kind of almost pop art look. The next one was inverted and then solarized. So there's just that touch of color throughout, but it's really just inverted picture. And then, as Barbara talked about before, there's a thing called threshold, which will turn your picture to different degrees of black and white. And again, as you slide it across, you get very, very different looks, but thought this was interesting. And then finally, I just did something because we were doing something in class that was for abstracts, and just taking a real close-up and just really changing the contrast, making it black and white, and creating this almost abstract view. So the next assignment we had in class was architectural details, and I was driving down Atlantic Avenue, and this is a picture of the side of Temple Sinai. And I thought there was something interesting about the geometric shapes, but it didn't make a good picture for me. Again, it was one of those that I kind of discarded and then came back and looked to see, is there something I could do with it? So the next one was under the artistic filters, there's something called dry brush. And dry brush gives the stone a texture. And I thought that was cool. It kind of looks like granite in a way, or some kind of stone rather than just a plain beige background stone. So the next one, I inverted it and made the sky white. And again, gave it a different texture. The next one was just playing with the color and just going overboard and totally saturating it. And just to see what colors would come out. The next one, I love the color red. So I just played with changing it to red. And this was done through a thing called neon. And again, you can change it where the neon could just either highlight the edges or it could highlight the whole thing. So that was really fun. And what I ended up submitting to Irene's show was the next one, which was, again, taking that and making it black and white and just making it very graphic. You know, the thing about this too is that not everyone likes all the same filters. So it's your personal thing about what you want to play with and what you enjoy looking at. And I just encourage everyone to try it. So this was a picture. Again, the assignment was abstracts, and I just literally took a picture on a blackboard of a bunch of eggs. And so then I used threshold, and wow, it gave it a totally different look. And then the next one was, I did this with there's a filter called charcoal, but then I turned it red, again, to give it just some totally different look. The next one was, again, this bas relief thing. No, actually, this was called embed, and it just kind of gives it a three-dimensional embedded look. And the next one, it's under filters, there's an area called distortion. And this was one called shearing, which it kind of stretches the picture. Again, just playing, not absolutely choosing any of these, but just playing to see what I could do with it. And the next one, this is pointillism. And you could make the pointillism, you could make the dots as small as you want, or as big as you want. You can make it 3 times as big as this. But again, we're showing you this today just to show you that there's so many different ways you can play with this. And this is where I ended up. I basically just inverted it black and white and just made it bigger, and kind of loved the poster-like look of this whole thing. And then I have one more to show you. The assignment was really stripes, find stripes anywhere. So I took this picture of a bench in Delray, but then I played with, I cropped it a little and played with this thing called liquefy, which kind of liquefied the thing, and I thought that was kind of fun. Then there's a thing called zigzag, and went a lot closer. And again, you could control the amount. I think Barbara showed one where she went all the way, and it's totally abstract and just strange shapes, but it's fun to see what is possible. The next one was taking the image, and there's one called chrome, which gives it a metallic effect. I actually just this week for an assignment took a shot of a do not enter sign, and it was kind of boring, and I turned it all chrome, and it really looks like a silver sign standing in the street. It's beautiful. The next one is I inverted it and played with the color a bit and turned it pink. For something graphic, turned it around, again, to create some kind of abstract. And then where I ended up was basically just, basically this was a simple black and white invert, but I liked kind of the shadows of the grass and the leaves and the reflections on it. So that was cool. The last thing I want to show you is, because this is, you can create, one of our assignments for Irene was to create an Andy Warhol effect. And Andy Warhol did with paint what we can now do with Photoshop Elements. And he took an image of, say, Marilyn Monroe, and he made it different colors and did different kind of brush effects on each one. So I'm just going to go through this quickly, but this is a series that I did for class. This was a selfie, and obviously there are different things. This was I did of my brother-in-law's dog. The next one is just took a picture I had, which was not a great picture, of the Miami Zoo, and I had an elephant, and I just played with it, and it was like, there's some really cool effect. I particularly like the pink one, but there are some really cool effects that you can do with any picture. And the next, this was more of an Andy Warhol. Instead of a soup can, I just grabbed an old can of beans out of the cabinet. It was not a political statement or whatever. Anyway, and then next, this was a shot I had from my phone, actually, of a concert I was at, and close up on one of the musicians, and just again played around with it, played around with switching one of the images to create a little surprise in there. And the next one, again, this was really just for you guys to just, it was a beach umbrella, and I just wanted to show in one shot how you can do all these different things. And I do want to say that if you don't know how to do this, it's so easy. There's a thing called collage, called Create, and you click on Create, and under it you go to Photo Collage, and there are all these different layouts you can pick, 4 or 6 different sizes and whatever, and it literally does it for you. So you don't have to, there's a mistake in this one, but there are others. And then I think there's one more. So this is just a close-up. I sat in on Barbara's class, and there was an assignment to do a close-up of money. And this is just a close-up on a $5 bill. And then again, just played with different images of it. And in the upper left-hand corner, I learned how to do something about change the color of an image, which is really, again, shockingly simple how to do. But I think that the whole point is really to show you can not only just do it with one image, but you could create, you know, what almost looks like a piece of art, contemporary art. So that's where I am.
Okay, does anybody have, thank you, David. Does anybody have any questions on that section? Again, most of these things are one click.
Right.
Can I just ask, I use my cell phone to take pictures.
Right.
And so these apps, should I download them to my iPad or to my computer?
Well, what I did was I downloaded it to my computer, just because it has more storage space, and it's very easy just to send your cell phone pictures to your computer.
Yeah.
And I honestly, one of the pictures that I won an award for this year was something I had taken a few years ago on my iPhone in Prague, and I just played with it on Photoshop Elements on my computer, and it just came out great. So it's very easy to do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice presentation. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very inspirational.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, the next person is Harry. It's all yours.
Okay, I don't see my picture yet. Okay, when I was asked to do Snapseed by Barbara, I said, sure. Well, I really hadn't used it very much, although it was on my phone. So I learned as we went along. There were 2 handouts that you should have received from Adrian. One is about an 8-minute video, which I would suggest that those of you who are not familiar with Snapseed at all, before downloading it, or you can download it and then watch that video. There's also a tutorial, which I didn't realize when I did it. It was iPhones, but it works the same pretty much on iPhone or an Android phone. And the best thing about Snapseed, it's a simple editing device which you can download for free from the App Store or the Play Store. And basically what I would suggest you do, as David had pointed out with Elements, is to just go into it and play with it. That's the way you're going to learn how to use it. Play with all the different tools that there are. Now, there are basically two ways to edit your photos. And down on the lower right-hand corner, when you go into it, there's a thing that says looks, and it will show you various iterations of the photo that you took, just basically various shades. And then next to that is tools, which gives you more different tools to work with. Next. This is basically the tool screen. And so just again, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. You play with it. You can expand, you can crop, all the things that you can do basically on most editing tools, and some fun ones too, like grainy film and glamour glow. Again, just play with it. Now, again, as was pointed out in Elements, what you should do is when you have a picture you want to use that you have up on the screen, export it and then hit save a copy and play with that copy rather than with the original. Next. Okay, we have now just some examples that I did. And I'm sorry, I didn't actually write down the different tools that I used as I went along. A lot of it was just contrast and shading. Next. So I just changed the color. Next. Did it in black and white. It's kind of cool. Next. Change the angle a little. Next. Okay, this is these were just things I took around the house. And I find that when you want to play with it and get different effects, it's most helpful if you choose subjects that have a lot of color to begin with. Next. I can't remember what, I think this might have been vintage. Next. Black and white. Jelly beans. This was very colorful. So just by changing different shadings, you get some very good effects. Next. 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 There were beautiful clouds, which I don't think I got as well as I could. Well, if you move your screen a little, it looks better. Next. Next. That's the grainy effect. Next. We're back to David. And just let me see if I have anything else that I missed here on my notes.
Yeah, that was the last one, so it went back to the first one.
Yeah. Basically, that's all I had. And I'd be happy to answer any questions as best as I could.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
So what as a new, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
As
It's
a,
not a question. I put in a note. I just wanted to tell everyone that in the homework, Adrian sent those 4 links, and one of the Snapseed, I might have put Snapchat in my note. The Snapseed, it gives a link to a guide that's all those tools that he showed you, and it walks you through the whole thing.
Yeah, the handouts were great. Okay, Vivian.
I almost forgot what I wanted to say. So, I enjoyed this whole, the three speakers. That was really good. And I enjoyed looking at all the pictures, because sometimes I know when I go from my phone picture and send it, and on the phone, they just have a few little things that you could do. This makes me less afraid to do what I'm thinking in my head. So I guess the thing I have to do is download this Superseed, and this, Snapseed, and the Photoshop elements. I'm thinking those two programs should be enough right now for me as a beginner,
Yes.
kind of thing. So I enjoyed this. This was very good. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, and everybody. Thank you.
Vivian, this is Dave. I just wanted to say that I only use Photoshop Elements, and there's just so many things you could do. I don't think you should think of it as just a beginning thing. I think it's just, there's a lot there and fun to use, and you will always find new stuff to do with it.
So what?
You muted. You muted.
Continue taking pictures on my cell phone, but send those pictures to my computer.
Yep.
So they will be large and I could really see what I'm doing.
Exactly.
Could I also say, which I forgot to say, Snapseed, I don't know whether you can use it on a computer, but you can use it on an iPad. And again, that's bigger than your cell phone, so it's little easier to work with.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Can I add a general comment?
Sure.
Regarding the so-called Nick, in the chat section, I put the link for the so-called old version, both the Windows and the Mac. And actually, I confirmed that the link that brings the old version that is free, that I already have for 3 or 4 years. So I believe it's legitimately free and useful.
Excellent. And it's Nick, N-I-K. Somebody asked how to spell it.
N-I-K.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the chat to see if there's anything else.
Scroll on the chat, and one of the link messages they put in is actually hypertext that you just link on it and it'll go there.
Perfect. Okay. All right.
As long as the Zoom is open. Once you shut off Zoom off, you lose the link.
Right. Don't shut it off if you want that link. Okay. All right, Barbara, you want to take a minute and just do one picture?
Sure. You have to unshare your screen.
Okay, I'm not sharing anymore.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay, so I have a picture up in Photoshop Elements. This is the original photo that was in JPEG. What I'm going to do is just show you some of the effects so you can see how things can be changed so quick. I also want to point out that I have opened under Window this box that is called History. So by doing this box, you can go back and undo anything that you don't like, or can go back to a different spot. Okay, so first I'm going to do auto haze removal, which doesn't work so much when you're doing an indoor photo, but you will see some change in it. I always do that to every photo, especially in Florida. We're always have humid air and it changes the color. So you can see how that changed that already. So that's one of the things I do automatically. Then if I go under filters, we can go under threshold, which I think both David and I talked about, which is under adjustments. So you see what happens. It comes to a black and white image. There is a slider where I can change it and play with it and see if I like it. Okay, then I'll cancel that. Then I'll go into some of the artistic filters. This is one called Cutout. You have to give it some time to load in. You see the blue line at the bottom, okay? So then if you see on the right-hand side, there are levels that you can change that will change the color and the style. So it takes a minute for them to load on. So you have to be patient or you'll end up with really not knowing what you did. So this is supposed to look out like cutout paper. Okay, I'll cancel that. And then I'm going to go to posterize, and that is under artistic. Oops, sorry. So first I'm going to go to poster edges. So what that does is it kind of outlines, it makes the image a little bit stronger by outlining the edges, but I can take it into full posterization by taking the bottom slider and putting it all the way across. So you get that kind of effect that you saw in some of David's and my slides. Okay, then I'm gonna cancel that out. Now at any time you can save the image and go from there and carry on with it, but I'm just trying to show you a bunch of different things that you can do. So under sketch, there's a filter called charcoal, which will make it look more like a charcoal drawing. Now, if you notice, I'm going to undo that. If you notice from the main screen in the corner, you see these two color boxes. Those color boxes are changeable to any color. And when you do the charcoal and chalk and charcoal, these are the colors it uses. So if you wanted it to be black and white, you could change the colors to black and white. And that affects, whoops, that affects what you do there. Okay, let me get this window out of the way here. Sorry, trying to get the people out of the way. Okay, the next filter I'm going to show you is Chrome, if I can find it. It's under sketch. And I think David showed you something with the Chrome filter that it completely distorts it. It kind of looks like aluminum foil or metal, like an etching. And then I'm going to cancel that. And then you can go under Conte Crayon. Whole different look. These are just one-click things, and there's a million sliders here that you could be playing with to change that, to change the relief, to change the texture. So you just have to go in and play. That's the fun thing, how you can discover things. And then under sketch, I also have graphic pen. Takes a minute for it to load. Okay, and then the next one is, oops, note paper. You don't even know what half these things are unless you try them. And then again, they all have their different sliders, so you can change it. Oops, see, that one made it totally blank. And the graininess, the relief. Oops, I have our window in the way. Put that back up. Okay, and then I can cancel that. Then I'm going to take you under filters. This is the Nick collection. Now, the only two that I usually use are the color effects and the silver effects. The silver effects is for black and white. This is the color effects.
So the original screen was Photoshop Elements. She went under filters. She went all the way to the bottom where her collection of other things are.
So now we're in color effects in Nick filters. So I'm just going to show you a couple fun things that you can do. There's something called a detail extractor, which you may like or not like, and then you can play along with that. That's one, this is like extreme detail, which obviously on a portrait, it doesn't look good. Okay, and then I'm going to show you,
Do you have to undo what you did to go to the next one?
no, it'll just change it automatically.
Override it, okay.
So, okay, let's go to Solarize because I use that a lot, only because I think it's so much fun. So originally it gives you these 6 images. You can click on any one image, and I'll choose this one. And then you use the sliders of the saturation and the elapsed time. And you can make countless alterations to your photo, and it's really fun. And then you can do the same in a black and white, and do the same thing with the saturation and then the elapsed time. So that's really fun to play with. And then I'll show you, let's go back. Let me cancel out of that. I'm going to go into Nick. I'm going to go into Silver Vivenza to show you what the black and white will do. Now, usually when I'm working in Silver Vivenza, my personal thing is to work into fine arts because it kind of gives you a more neutral image, but you will see in a minute how many black and white images come up, all preset and done for you. They give you all these choices pre-done. For instance, this is an antique plate. Now I can change this in terms of the brightness. I can change it in terms of contrast. I can change it in terms of structure, which makes everything a little more defined. Okay, so that's one really fun thing to play with. Fine arts is usually what I use when I'm working on a serious black and white photo. And then you can change the same things, the brightness, the contrast, the structure, till you find something you like. And then there's a whole series of things you can learn with that for changing like a lens fall off where the edges drop. You can change toning, turn it into a sepia, and so forth. So you just see how much expanse you have. So I'm going to cancel this, and then I'm just going to show you a couple things in Topaz. Again, like your computer has to have a lot of storage to hold Topaz, but I just want to show you how much fun it is. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, you can upgrade your computer, or your computer might be able to handle it already. And in this, there's all kinds of things that are preset effects, and then you work with them. So if I go down this line on the left, at least on my left, you can see all the different filters. It takes a minute for them to load. And there's a lot of even artists that are kind of copied. So you might find one that says Degas. This one actually says paint by numbers. I'll change that just so you can see. So it just changes the image to how it interprets it. There's so many, you could go on and on and on. This is a watercolor. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the sunrise. This is a super abstract, which I don't know why you would want it, but you might. This is an airbrush filter. And then on top of those, you have all these things you can play with. I am just learning Topaz, so this is a new experience for me. So I'm going to unshare my screen. Does anyone have any questions?
Barbara,
Yes.
Herb, you've encouraged me to take lousy pictures. Let me ask you, does the NIC that you showed, you paid for that and you got it on your computer, downloaded from your computer?
Yes.
And you paid for it like $80 or $100?
I think it was maybe, I bought it a while ago. Maybe it was like $60 or something.
And does the current one of Nick fit on all computers? I think my Mac is like 2015.
I am not sure. I mean, I have my computer tech help me. I am not the techiest person in the world. So whenever I add any new program, I always have him check to make sure I'm going to have enough storage. I had a problem because I upgraded Topaz and then it like disappeared, but then it came back. But it came back in the new version, which I had to learn all over again. So, you know, sometimes it's great to upload new versions, and sometimes you get used to the old versions. It's easier to work with what you know, but every new version always adds new things you can do.
But that's not the problem with Nick and your computer. It's also on Elements. If Elements 2020 doesn't fit on my computer or anyone's computer who's listening, well, how do we know? Do we buy it first and then it doesn't work?
No, I would ask a computer tech, or you could call the company that of your computer, but you can also upgrade your computer drive.
Let me suggest, if I may.
A couple of things. Nick will work fine on your 2015 iMac. Secondly, Adobe also always puts out a list of computers and graphic cards that that is required. So does Topaz. So you will know whether your computer qualifies or not by going to their site. But Nick will work.
Good.
Nick works on my wife's 2011 iMac with a solid state drive and 20 gigabytes of RAM in it, though.
May I, Barbara, you are finally getting there. I'm very proud of you. It's about time. That's number one. Number two, is anyone using Elements as a plugin with Lightroom? I'm having a problem with that. Plugin with Lightroom, Elements.
I don't use Lightroom.
Okay.
I use Lightroom.
And no, yes, no?
I use Lightroom with Photoshop.
Elements with Lightroom.
I'm using that as a plugin to Lightroom, that it would blow up. So, you know, Miriam was explaining her problems with that, waiting.
Well, it's
So
a version.
And what I do at the moment is do all my Lightroom stuff, and then I save it, I export it, and then I bring it into Photoshop to do the layering or whatever I want to do in Photoshop with it and save it. So it's a Band-Aid. But I was going to point out that Photoshop Elements, mine is very old, it's 11. They have 2021 now, and somebody was asking her, I think, how do you know if do you have to buy it first? No, you go on the website that's where you would purchase it. It's from Adobe, and they're hyping it, and then you go to the specifications. And what I saw for Photoshop 2021 is that for a Mac, the operating system has to be at something, it was either OS 13 or 14, and I'm at 12. And I have held off going above that because my Lightroom will stop working and I'll have to get Lightroom CC. So that's in my very near future.
Barbara, one more question, please. Do you have 2 minutes to show everyone how to import, save, and export? Was that too much time?
No, it's I don't want to do.
Okay.
If you guys have more questions for each other, at the top of the agenda, it has everybody's name. So you can look them up in the Valencia Falls directory and email each other. But we've been going for an hour and a half of fascinating content. Thank you, all three of you. And now what I'd like to just remind you is go back into your computers, find 2 images you'd like to work on, and send me the original and the edited version. So you can do 2. So you're sending me 4 images, and then we'll do the review session. Okay, so you have until, and it's on here, until November 8th to send me that.
Adrian, can I just say one thing?
Sure, Dave.
I know that people have, downloaded from Adobe Photoshop Elements, but I got mine on Amazon, and every so often they have a really great sale where it's like 40% off. So I just wanted everyone to know that.
Great.
Adrian, can I just answer Harvey for a minute? Harv, if
Yeah.
you Photoshop Elements, it does not jump out of Lightroom and then come back.
Correct.
You're going to have to call it up as a standalone version to work with it.
Yeah.
Photoshop itself does, so does Topaz, so does Nick as a plugin, so does
Correct.
On. But Photoshop Elements, for whatever reason, I cannot get it to work out of Lightroom.
Nor can I. Nor can I. Thank you. Thank you, Eric.
Adrian, thank you. I'm sorry, I've got to leave.
That's good. Everybody's leaving.
Oh, I had to tell Barbara something.
Or to on our own telephone. Okay.
Oh,
Bye, everybody.
it's the
Bye.
iPhone.
Thank you.
Great.
Well done, well done.
Bye, Barbara. Take care.
I'm excited.
Terrific. So much.
Thank you.